Hello.
Hello, Susan.
They changed it to tomorrow, so I could be here today.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
An unexpected pleasure.
Well, for me too.
Great. Well, I'm just waiting for Andrew to join us. Rosemary has had to drop out.
Oh, I was afraid that might happen.
So was I.
Yeah.
From the beginning, I
Yeah.
thought that was very likely, but she's a very sweet lady and very serious about wanting to do these things. But you can't always do what you want to do.
Isn't that the truth? We find that out as time goes on.
As time goes on, indeed. And learning to accept that can sometimes be a challenge.
Yep.
So, well, Andrew, you have a minute.
Is it still worth your while to do this for two of us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. Good.
I wouldn't abandon you at this point.
Well, I think it sounds like we're going to be here the rest of our lives.
Only a small part of it. Yes. Well, that's the way this stuff is. As I said at the beginning, this is I'm really doing a full teaching of this and not the more surface thing I had done previously. So you guys are, I think, fortunate.
I do too. I do. Here he comes.
There we go.
Hello.
Oh, there's your waist.
Yeah. Here's your head.
Hi.
Hi, Andrew.
How are you?
I am super. How are you?
I am duper then.
What does that mean?
Super duper? I'm just...
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
You changed your location.
Yes, I don't know. I guess they wanted to watch a movie upstairs, so I am downstairs today.
Oh, good. You have more room.
Yes. We'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah.
Well, there is that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I was just saying to Susan that unfortunately, Rosemary has had to drop out, principally due to health issues at the moment.
That's too bad.
So we might see her at some point in the future, but
yeah, hopefully.
So I'm delighted to have the two of you to work with.
Yeah.
So no ting shaw, David.
Doesn't really fit, does it? That's fine.
Questions?
I didn't understand anything you told me the other day.
What? Oh, come on.
Oh, well, at least by now I know you don't have to. You just keep on doing it.
So I told you too much. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, who knows? The old brain just can't take it all in.
So what she's referring to is, as you may have noticed, neither of you were actually present last time. So Susan wrote to me and asked, how does dissolving the brain and the dong connect? Which was a perfectly good question, and but I chose to call her and give her a rather complete answer because it was too much to write. And apparently I gave you too much information.
Well,
so the short, let me just review the short answer. Is that everything in the body connects because everything is part of one thing. So while often things seem separate, actually nothing is separate. However, there are some specific flows, some of which we've talked about before, which do connect those two areas. And I was emphasizing with Susan that dissolving the brain is a project of years. And initially, you don't want to think in terms of getting to any deep level with that. You have to start very superficially. And because there are 40 energy centers in the brain, it ultimately takes a very long time to dissolve the brain. But we make a start, just as we do with everything else, on beginning at the surface level and moving in. So the brain, obviously, in traditional Chinese medicine, the brain is thought of actually as the upper end of the spine. and indeed, as we know, they connect. And so we have the macrocosmic circuit and the microcosmic circuit, which are the two of the very basic ones, which, and that's not what I meant to do, which are two of the basic ones. The other primary one that we work with is the flow from the dantian to the periphery and back to the dantian. And the deep channels are the left and right and center channels, and they're actually primary channels from which the others developed. So just to be clear, hopefully, so the macrocosmic circuit, starting from the earth, comes up the inside of the leg, excuse me, goes to the qua and goes through the qua and comes up the back, over the top of the crown of the head, down the front of the body, back to the qua again, and around the hip and down the outside of the legs. And that's referred to as the macrocosmic circuit. The microcosmic circuit is flowing around the very center of the torso. it also connects to heaven and earth, just as the macrocosmic circuit does. But the principal part of it is from the perineum up the back, over the top of the head, and back down to the perineum. Clearly, both of those are connecting between the dong and the brain. Center to periphery, we often think of that as moving through the left and right and central channels eventually. And that reaching those is part of the whole process of these Nego practices of which we're beginning to work. And the left and right channels, we talk about the section in the body because that's the principal one we so often relate to, but it moves from the qua to the shoulder's nest. So along the sides of that rectangle that we are attempting to maintain in the torso. The left and right channels, when they come to the qua, go on down around the bones. They travel just outside of the bones. And they do the same thing when they come up to the shoulder's nest. One of the ways they go to the arm is from that point, and they go on the outside of the bones all the way out through the fingertips and back in. And when it comes up to the shoulder's nest, those pathways actually come in and go up on the sides of the central channel, which is going through the middle of the head. So those three primary channels, deep channels, absolutely connect, particularly the central channel, which moves through the center of the head, through the center of the torso, down to the perineum, and actually then goes down through the center of the bones of the legs and the center of the bones through the arm. So it's easy to, I think, to see the energetic connections between those two areas.
Yes, that helps.
So sometimes seeing it is a little easier than just hearing it. Either of you have a further question about that?
When we for any circuit, when we say it goes like up the back, right? The macrocosmic circuit goes up the back. If I don't look too hard at it, right? I can just accept the fact that when we're syncing, I'm like, okay, like it's gonna go down now. But trying to, if I look at it more, it doesn't, it either goes up or it goes down, right? How can it go? So when you're syncing and you're maybe trying to hold on to all those circuits, right? And there's a clear defined path for a circuit, how do you hold those two things together in that it's supposed to, the circuit goes up the back. So if I'm syncing, how does it go down the back? So for any circuit, how am I going to sync down against the path of the circuit?
You're thinking too much, Andrew. So, like it or not, energy is always moving in both directions through every channel.
It's just, yeah, okay.
And it does not, one of the things that we discover in God's plane in the clouds, which is quite a ways down the road for you guys, but I'll mention this fact. We discovered that every way that you can think about moving the energy or relating the energy to the physical movement or to the breathing can be done in opposite ways equally effectively. So there is no one way. We simply focus on one at a time so that we can get our intent clear about what that is, the one we're working on. Eventually, all of these are functioning, of course, simultaneously, but you cannot possibly think about all of this and be aware of it. It has to be at a much deeper level in both the mind and the body.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's not to say you shouldn't question. I'm not meaning to dismiss your question. It's just that it's one of the things that we discover, or you'll discover undoubtedly, is that at some point I will teach, for instance, a particular way of relating of movement, physical and energetic, and the breath, and it doesn't feel right to you. Doing something opposite flows more smoothly for you. That's not unusual, and it's not wrong. It just is where your body is, your body, mind, and energy are at that particular point. And
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
and believe me, it will change.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is to remember, separate and then combine. That principle of not thinking about the end result and trying to do everything at once, but endeavoring to get comfortable with each piece and then put it into the mix.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Blah blah blah. So, any other questions or thoughts at the moment?
The other thing, kind of related, is I always have a real tricky time with same sort of thing. Like if we're trying to sync or we're trying to scan down. When do I do my arms? When do I do my arms? If I'm, like I've got a head, cool. I got a neck, simple. Now I've got three separate like cylinders that and I never feel I don't know if it's from my desk job or whatever. I never feel a real strong sense, or I shouldn't say never, but of a flow between I've something nest here. I forgot what they're called. Into my arms. So just that sort of, okay, we're going down, go down your chest. I'm like, I can go down my spine and like this is fine, but these are just kind of like waiting for my attention, and I don't, and then I feel weird, like, okay, now go back and do. So
when you are beginning, as you are beginning dissolving, it's very hard to do everything the way you eventually want to do it. So you're absolutely right. And this is something we haven't talked about. Initially, you really, I think, I found anyway, and I know other people have too, and certainly Bruce has suggested that this is just fine to start. You go through the body down to roughly the dantian, and then you go back and you go through one arm. And then you go back and you go through the other arm.
Yeah.
And then you go on down in the body.
Yeah. Okay.
The way you eventually want to do it is that when you begin to come down into that area, that as you go around the body, feeling at one level, you feel not only in the torso, but then when you get out to the arm, you go around the arm, and then you go around the back, and you go around the other arm at that level, and then complete the torso. So you do everything at one level.
Right.
But that's very difficult to do initially.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was running into. Like I don't know how to describe it. It just felt very like I was jumping around all over the place and not
Yeah,
really doing anything.
absolutely. So the way to begin this is to do each part separately so that you don't feel a confusion about it, but can begin to develop some clarity.
Okay.
And then down the road a ways, when you feel like you might have reached a point where you can do it, try going all the way around. And that might be weeks, months, whenever. It's not a dissolving energetic blockages is a lifetime's work. And even then, we probably won't complete it. Let's just to be clear about that. But we can make huge differences in our quality of life by working on this and getting at least some of the major stuff out of the way. So it's like everything else that we do, that, you know, make a little progress each day. Thank you, Master Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you have more question about that, or is that?
No, I think that's enough to know that it's basically fine to do one at a time, and then
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think most people go through that. I'm sure there's some extraordinary people who probably can do the whole thing all at once, but most of us, that's not the case. Anything else for you, Susan?
No, that helps.
Good.
Putting little pieces together.
So we've actually begun working on cloud hands, which is the first movement posture in this practice, with our shifting and rotating back and forth. And there are a number of additional points we need to work on and be aware of in relation to that movement in preparation for getting to the point of adding the arms into cloud hands. So first thing I want to say here is that as we rotate and shift to the side, one of the things we have to be really, really focused on is that we are not in any way allowing the knees to collapse in or push out, because either one of those stops the flow of the energy through the leg and begins to affect its flow through the dong and the qua and getting to the torso. One of the things that you can see, and we'll work on this particular thing a little bit later, but when you get over to the side, you've rotated and shifted to one side. If everything's in alignment, then you should have that 3-year-old bounce just on that one weighted leg side, going through the whole body. As soon as you let, for instance, that other leg to collapse, that 3-year-old bounce is gone. And if you allow the weighted knee to twist out or twist in as you go, you in effect put a joint lock on your knee. You've just kicked yourself in the knee. So keeping the knees in their correct alignment is extremely important in terms of preserving your knees and not having knee issues. So as we were talking last time, it's really important that the dong has to be kept open. And part of the reason for that area being kept open is that if the energy is going to go up from your feet, up through your hips, then it has to be open. And then the next question is, how does it go up? What has to happen in order to be sure that it actually goes up, as opposed to it remains blocked in the hip? There are 2 points to this. The first one is that if the area of the dong is opened up well enough, you don't have an issue of whether the qi will hit the central channel in the body. You don't have that because it's open. But you can have a second issue, and that is if the spine is bent and you're just holding that bend in the spine, the energy that's rising up is going to go to whatever or wherever the bend is. And it actually can lock at that place in the spine. So the result is you have perhaps 100 units of energy rising, and then when it hits that place, it drops to, who knows, 50, 40, 10, or maybe jumps then to 85. And then if you have 2 or 3 blocks like this, at each place, the flow of the qi coming up from your legs reduces, and then it gets worse. The energy that is going down your body, that's the energy that clears out what your body cannot use, at every point in the spine is not quite straight. It blocks the energy going down. It's like going to the toilet and only getting rid of maybe 50%, which you can imagine after a while can be a problem. So it has to be clear in both directions. Now, the first thing is to get the sacrum to go down. And this is going to facilitate that the qi, when it gets to the bottom of your pelvis, is going to your legs and will have a straight line coming up. But then you also want to have the spine lightly lifted. And that's going to bring the qi up the body. But if it goes up, it needs to go down. So now we have another issue. If your chest is stuck way forward, like a military posture, it creates a very big arch in the back, which is not a problem purely in terms of the spine, but it is a problem in that it is blocking some of the qi actually moving up or moving down. So when the chest relaxes, the energy, once it rises, has a clear and easy path to fall down to your belly and your legs and go down to the feet. When the chest moves forward, which the Chinese call lifting the chest, your qi blocks in the chest. It concentrates in your chest and it does not fully drop. And that's the reason why there are two different ways of body posture done in the Far East and in the West. One is to allow the chest to relax in. It doesn't go anywhere. The chest simply goes in back and the pressure goes back and it starts raising the spine. Now, all of this is in the service of the energy basically goes up your spine, then goes down your chest. But it must go down. And that does not mean collapse. Because if your spine is raised and you relax your chest will not collapse. So let's just work on those little bits for a moment. So if you'll stand. And step out to a wider stance. So wider than your shoulders width. And I want you to just begin to shift your weight from side to side and shift and rotate. So doing both movements. And you're endeavoring to move towards 100%. So that doesn't mean you have to be 100% on each weighted foot, but we're as close to it as you can and maintain all of your structural points. Now, as you're doing this, think about keeping the dong open and not letting the knees collapse. Try to keep both the rotation and the shifting constant and equal, so that as you arrive at one side, you have completed both movements without any stress or strain. Make sure that your sacrum is pointing straight down to the earth. So Susan, keep your focus on your dantian as the center of your movement. Try to not over-rotate. Feel your spine lightly lifting and staying straight. Susan, how wide apart are your feet?
Too wide?
No, it
No.
seems too narrow. But that should be wider than your.
They are.
Okay.
But then I can't get over and get the weight all onto this foot.
That's okay. Only go to 80% or whatever at the moment.
Okay, and my other heel lifts up.
So you need to relax the quad and allow yourself to sit down slightly so that that's not an issue.
And you're thinking about just the lower part of you?
Well, everything's moving together because you remember your.
Yeah, but
What? Can you say a little more about that question?
the movement is all from here down, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the shoulders are following the hips, moving with them. Yeah. So maybe look at me for a minute. Just so what I'd say again is to think about the way to find the width of your stance is to step out as far as you can possibly go and then bring that back in 30%. So it probably is not entirely comfortable at first. It may be a little wider than you're absolutely comfortable. And it's important that you're not fully erect. We're doing everything at that base level where we have allowed the quad to just relax a little, which allows us to be able to rotate and shift without going up and down and without moving the feet. The weight moves, but there's no movement of the heel coming up. That happens when you're too erect and you try to go this side and my heel does come up, absolutely. But as soon, and when you're like that, you don't have any real sponginess in this movement. There's no openness in the leg. You have to relax the quad in order to get the openness in the leg so the energy can move through it. So this movement back and forth is just a very easy, but you want everything to be together. And you're making sure that you're not forcing anything to turn further than is easily done. You're not trying to go at 100%. You're only trying to go to 70%. of course, since there's nothing to think about here, let the chest relax and slightly sink too. You want to make sure you're not arching the chest out. And it doesn't move with the breath. The breath ultimately is moving the back. The other thing I would say, Susan, is try to initiate the rotation and the shifting at the same instant. You're shifting first and then rotating.
Okay.
Better. Okay, let's relax. Take a break here. You can sit down. It does feel a little bit, Susan, as if you're turning your shoulders a little bit more than the hip. So just to be aware of that. That's part of keeping your focus on the dantian as the center of the movement, so that the 4 points all just move as a block. They don't separate in any way. So I'm going to go through several points today, and obviously you, as with everything else, you can't work on them all at once. So you should really try to focus on just one for a day or two until it begins to be a little more comfortable, and then go to the next one and work on it, and then put them together. And just kind of build these pieces up. So the next thing we're going to move to is back to the feet and the knees, because we've looked at the ribs. We've looked at the rising and falling of the energy and some big issues that will stop it. But now we need to look at what specifically about the knees and the feet will block the energy moving from the hips to the feet or in the other direction. Now, the first one is this. What happens to your knee when you shift to the side? Remember how we worked before on not being too far forward or too far back? Now we need to see if you can have a clean line that is not going to stop your energy from dropping. And one of the easiest tests to do in this is if your feet are really relatively flat on the floor. Shifting your weight as much as you can towards 100% to one side. And then see if you have the relaxed 3-year-old bounce. If you have a good bounce, then there's no problem. If you collapse the other knee, you will lose the bounce. So having the knees in the correct position, the correct alignment, opens up the dong. You can't think of the dong as only the perineum. Well, you could, and that would get most of the energy, but you really have to think of it in terms of the whole semicircle from knee through the perineum and back to the other knee, which will then complete itself down to the feet. But now we're looking at the first primary juncture. If the dong closes down, then the fact of the matter is that the flow up and down in the body is compromised. It is the same thing when you walk. It only takes a little bit to actually open up the inside of your leg and open up your dong once you are used to doing it. If you let the knee collapse in when you walk, that does not facilitate the flow of qi. That stops the flow of qi. So I want you to go back to rotating and shifting again, and just being aware of keeping the dong open all the time. And where are your knees? And what we want to do is first just establish the movement. Doing what you were doing before. Just take a moment to think through those points. I know you need to do quite a bit of practice to actually incorporate all of them, but just feel that you have some sense of that. And now, rotate and shift and pause on one side. Feel the feet flat on the floor, and then see if you have a good bounciness. You should be able to just very easily bounce on that leg. And as I demonstrated earlier, one of the things you can do is let that leg on the lighter side, the unweighted side, let that knee drop in. Let it collapse. And then feel how you don't have that 3-year-old bounce there. It pretty much goes away. Also, it's hard on the knee, so don't do that. Keep the knees comfortable. And try it on both sides. You may find that one side you have an easier 3-year-old bounce than the other. So maybe there is something that you need to change. Maybe your back isn't straight. Maybe one of the knees is subtly out of alignment. And find where can you just relax onto that and really have that nice bouncy feeling, that openness. And then just go back and forth a few times, seeing if you can keep that sense of openness and bounciness as you go from side to side. And then every once in a while, stop and check. If you have a good bounce, then when you go to the side, you probably have a good qi flow. If your body bounces evenly, it's probably flowing easily. At least nothing is obstructing, nothing's stopping it, and the body's natural abilities come out. Is that the Lyra bounce?
I think Merlin bounces a little bit more.
Oh, okay. So this is another piece to work on. You can relax again for a moment. Anybody have a question there? Okay. So now we're going to look at something else. You don't want either knee to collapse in, and you don't want to feel any strain in either knee. You want both knees to maintain their alignment, which means the ankle, the knee, and the quad point are in a straight line. The knee will then give a sense of being connected directly into your dom. Understand not just your quad, but it's also your dom. And if you get that, you get the chi flow. That's all you have to do. And that's a basic problem. You know, if you do Tai Chi, keeping the dong open all the time is necessary regardless of style. It's also there in Bagua. You open up the dong because the dong is what has to remain open for the chi to come up and down. Now you can simplify it to the perineum. Bruce said he did that in his early years of teaching and then realized that it needed to be more. So where is the exact spot when it's just open and there is no strain? Do it too much and there is strain. Your butt tightens up, your hips tighten up. But if you do it just enough, everything's open, but there is no strain. And that's the Goldilocks point you're looking for. So as you shift again for a minute, really be aware of keeping both knees aligned. And in particular, trying to feel the connection to the dom. See if you can begin to feel some sense of energy going up and down. Okay, so take a break. You could sit down again at this point for a minute. So any question there? Okay. Go ahead.
Should there be a connection between, I guess, I don't the dantian and the perineum, in that? Because at first I was thinking of it more like an arch between the knees and the perineum. and then this felt more like an arch, but with a detour up to the Dantian, and it felt a little more like, yeah, that's sort of what's going on, but
Yep, absolutely one of the flows of the energy will be up to the perineum and then up the central channel and up the spine, and the central channel, of course, includes the lower dantian.
Okay. Okay, so all of the above.
Yes,
Okay.
actually, yes.
Okay, got it.
The systems are many and often, at least to me, appear to be overlapping, but actually they're all separate.
Okay.
And yet they are not unrelated. They're all working together. So another thing that's rather important, and that's the back of the knee. The inside of the knee has to have space. So this is talking about the fact that the energy, when it passes through the knee, basically goes through the back of the knee, in that space in the back of the knee, not through the bone in the front. As long as that space is maintained, nothing is intrinsically pulling on the knee joint. There are no pressures that are not the ones that the body was designed for. When people start going lower or bending their knees more, the tendency is to make the front of the knee open. And in their process of doing that, the back of the knee starts closing. And when the closing reaches a certain point, all the ligaments that go to your knee are now at maximum strain. They're like a rubber band that has reached breaking point, and you have problems. So it is not that it's a problem that the front of the knee is opening. It's a problem that the back does not have space. So you have to keep the back of the knee open. And how do you do that? Well, if you just take your hand and reach down to the back of the knee, you'll feel two big tendons in the back of your knee. And you just have to get them to stretch slightly. And then the back of the knee will open more. So one of the things you can do is to just put your fingers on that tendon and stretch it one way and then stretch it the other. So you can just pull it in one direction and then pull it in the other, and then do the other one. Do both of the tendons, not just one. And if you stretch each of them a little bit, the back of the knee will open up. Now, when your sensitivity gets good enough, you can just open up the inside of the joint. But that's something that's taught in the Marriage of Heaven and Earth Qigong. And here, if you have a sense of your tendons and you just get them to end up to stretch up and the bottom end to stretch down, it will do the trick. So you want to stretch the ends in opposite directions, and that will cause the joint to open.
Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I need a diagram.
You do?
Stretching both directions on both tendons?
Opposite directions, yes, but one at a time. Let me show you what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a little slow. Let's see if I can, maybe. So actually, we'll do this in a minute, but so you have two tendons, two primary tendons in the back here, and you can feel them running through the joint. So what I'm suggesting is that you can, one of the ways to do it is to hold the middle of the tendon and stretch it up, and then stretch it down a little bit, so that you just give it a little bit of freedom. It doesn't move a lot, so you're just stretching a little bit. And actually, we'll do this in a minute. Actually, we're just about to that point. But one of the things you can do, that this is a good exercise, is when you go into this, is feel your knees, be really aware of how much space you feel you have in the back of your knee. And then stop. And what you want to do is not try to stretch the weighted knee, but stretch the tendons on the unweighted knee. And then after you do that, after you've stretched them just a little bit, then try it again and see if that made a difference. And if you find that doing this standing doesn't seem to be effective, sometimes it helps to sit down to do that stretching, and then stand up and start moving again. Did that clarify that, Susan?
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to get the feel of the open backside of the knee, and it doesn't feel closed.
Good.
So,
you know, like a lot of these things, you don't, if it feels like it's open, then accept that. Don't feel you have to question it.
okay.
But getting those tendons to release a little bit can really help that. Andrew, was that a question?
No.
No.
That was me knocking my pillow off.
I'm sorry?
I said that was me knocking my pillow off.
Oh, I see. All right. So, so that's where I'm going to stop for today. As usual, I don't know what I think, how I think you're going to be able to do it, but it seems like every class I prepare twice as much as you could possibly do in one class. So, so we've made a good start on this. And one of the things, because it's been a while, just so you understand or have some idea about this, let me just demonstrate cloud hands again so that you see where we're heading. Don't try to jump and do this at the moment. But sometimes it's kind of a help to see where we're going with something. So as you can see, the body movement that we're working on is the base of what we're moving towards. So any last minute thoughts or questions? Okay. Susan, I'm glad you could join us today.
Me too.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, have fun practicing, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Very good.
Have fun tomorrow.
Thanks.
Okay.
It's going to be a nightmare, actually.
Oh, really? Why is it going to be a nightmare?
Well, because one grandchild is coming to pick us up. It's 2.5 hours, and I don't want to drive it anymore. And then we get there, and there's this big party going on, and then we turn around and come back.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, this is what one does.
That's right.
Yeah, you'll have so much time to dissolve in the car, it sounds like.
Oh, there. Thank
Yeah.
you. There'll be nothing left of me. I'll be so dissolved. Just a little water drop.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
All right. Hang in there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So how's your world, Andrew?
Oh, it's perfect.
It is good. I'm awfully glad to hear that. I think you may be lying, but
well, yeah, I don't know. They always say, this is apparently what you wanted, so why not? What else? What else?
Didn't you say you wanted 6 children?
Is that what I said?
Something like that, 5 or 6.
I don't know who that was, but that's not me anymore, so we're changing moment for moment.
So, I'll get off personal things because it's too easy for us to get into. we can talk when we're done with form.
Sure.
Do you have any other questions though on Enerfy Gates?
I feel like I did. Maybe it was around I suppose. I guess just it seems like to keep the back of the knee open and and to like not go long story short, it feels like I need to be much lower than I my base level would be like here, but to keep the weight where I want it, where it should be in the foot, and the back of the knee open, and everything else relax, it feels like I need to have a wider but lower stance.
Could very well be. It's a little hard for me to see clearly here.
Yeah.
I can't see below your crotch, so.
Yeah. I don't know, would it help to see my feet? I mean, probably, since we're talking about them, but I don't know if that was a little too much.
Yeah, I can see them.
Where normally I would have been like here.
Mm-hmm.
But to do all of that, I feel like I need to be more like here now.
Uh-huh. Straighten out your right foot if you can.
Sure.
Yeah. Good. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's just quite a bit different than, like, that's me standing up. I would be here normally.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my first inclination, but it's much more like here-ish, because then I can really feel like the middle of my foot is where the weight is.
Uh-huh. Good.
Getting everything open. So, I guess I just didn't want to, like this is obviously wrong. like, if it's okay to have what feels like at first like a much deeper base level, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's fine.
okay. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
it is what you're looking for is where does it feel right?
Right.
Where do you keep everything open? Where do you have the sponginess and bounce?
Yeah.
And so at the moment, that's where it apparently is for you, and that's fine. You may find over time that you can retain that and still be a little higher.
Right. Okay.
But now it needs to be a little lower, and that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a weird, it's like a weird thing. It kind of, sometimes I feel like not a lot. I like I'm gonna exaggerate, but like it feels like to actually get everything up and down in an alignment and what feels like nothing's, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
etc. That when whatever this thing is here,
Sacrum.
sacrum. That once I kind of get it, I feel like I'm exaggerating a lot, but it almost feels like I'm doing this with like my whole body, that like the whole body's like bowed. But it's especially when I like if I stop doing this with my chest, right?
Yeah.
And stop and kind of get everything where it is. It just feels, and I don't know.
It looks
I don't know if
fine.
there's anything to do, for you to do with that, but
You know what I think it is that I'll bet that because of your work, that you are used to leaning forward.
right.
So when you're straight, it feels like you're leaning back.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, as long as I mean, I guess if it feels good, right? If it feels like I'm doing everything right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it doesn't look like you're arching. You don't want to arch back. That's absolutely correct. It doesn't look like you are.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's what I was looking for. Of like, this is what it feels like, but I think, like you said, like my body's like, oh, standing up.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool.
Good.
I think that was it.
Good.
The only other thing would be before we start, I'm gonna use the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay, dokie. No. Still plugged in. Yeah. I guess I could just try it here. After I move some stuff. This will be so weird. I'll have a little bit of room.
Well, that's a good thing. Ta-da!
There we go.
Yeah,
More or less.
yeah.
Okay.
So, any form questions to begin with?
No, not really. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't done much form practice. So
Okay.
I guess we'll see where we're at.
Okay. I guess we will. So, you want to flow together first?
That would be delightful.
Okay, in that case. So breathe. Extend the mind through the body. And begin Tai Chi addressing the earth. Spiraling down into the left. Stepping out empty with the right heel. Rotate rising into Pung. Slowly sinking, cheek, rising on. Shifting left, release. Turn. Shift onto the right leg. Step empty forward, shift. Twist step into ward off left. Continue forward, equalizing the arms, reset the right foot, sink into it and rotate, rising into ward off right. And release out to the right, in as you rotate left, sink, turn, back and down, bending in, press forward. And push downward. And sit back. Turn, brace the moon. Rotate on to the right. Step empty with the left. Shift. Middle weight as you extend out. Twist step. Bending in, extending out to single whip. Turn on the left heel. Turn on the right toe. Drawing in and up, lifting. Turn, sinking, brace the moon. Separate and up, white crane. Rotate back and down, embrace the moon, and step forward and brush knee. Shift forward, expand out, reset the right, sit back onto it, and open, play peacock. Draw in, step, and another brush knee. Back, turn, shift forward, rotating through, and brush knee right. brush knee left. Shift forward, reset, play pipa, and brush knee left again. Sit back, expand out, bend in, kick, elbow strike, rotate and back fist, pull down and step, shift forward and punch, withdraw and push downward. Sit back, rotate on the left heel, rotate rising into cross hands, release, rotate right, pull down, turn on the left toe, sit on that and step back and shift, expanding out, twist step, and back and down, ward off right, release into roll back, sink, turn, and press forward, back and down, forward and up, on, sit back, turn, single whip again, out, reset, shift forward, and twist step in the single whip. Sit back, arms bend in a little, turn, shift forward, step to the front corner, strike with the right palm, shift onto the right, pulling in, rotate forward, touch, and rotate and punch, weight back. Rotate, draw the left in and step back, and repulse monkey. Draw in, step back, and repulse monkey. Draw in, step back, repulse monkey. Draw in, step to the front. Rotate, shifting forward and into diagonal fly. Continue forward, arms folding in, reset the left, back and down into it and uplift hand. Rotate, separate, white crane. Another brush knee. Shift forward, reset, and come back and down through the S curve and up and pull down side. Below base level, step forward, shift forward, fan through the back. Rotate on the right toe. Rotate, step around, fist rising as you step, and shift forward to back fist. Rotating left, right arm through an S curve, draw in, kick with the right, elbow strike, back fist, pull down, shift forward, and punch. Shifting back, arms equalize, turn, embrace the moon. Stepping through and into ward off right. Roll back, sink, press forward, and push downward. Sitting back, bring the right foot in, rotate onto its step, back with the left. Shift, opening fully, twist step to single whip. Then turn on the left heel and right heel, embrace the moon. Continue turning to step forward and wave hands like clouds. Step in, turn the ball. Step out. Turn the ball. Step in, turn the ball. Step out. Turn the ball. Step forward. Step back. Single whip. Shift forward. Reset and back. Turn left up to high pat the horse. And then back and down. Left comes in. Step, shift, and ward off left to the back corner. Shift forward, arms fold in. Kick. Step to the front corner. And up to ward off right. Shift forward, arms fold in, and kick with the left. And I think that's probably as far as we've gone.
That's it. Yeah.
Questions?
It wasn't it wasn't too bad. The going from the single whip into cloud hands. I know we do it like every week, every class. There's just something I'm. It's like you did a step or something, or didn't do. I don't know. Can we just look at that?
Yes, we could. Sure. So we're in single whip to the back corner.
Yep.
And you're more weighted on the left foot than the right.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And without a major shift, you're turning on the left heel, and as you rotate, coming in to embrace the moon first, you come to roughly middle weight. And then you shift a little bit left and turn on the right toe, bringing that foot straight ahead. And then you keep rotating right, but shifting forward, which brings the left foot parallel, and you end up turned at that point towards the right front corner. And you're ready to turn left and turn the ball.
Right. Correct. Yeah, I don't know what I was.
So I think the tricky part in a way is the weight shift.
Yeah, I think so. I think I just the going back left. I think I don't do that, and I end up very wrong.
So you start turning right on the left heel and the right toe, and you keep turning right to move that leg so you can reverse into that throw.
Yeah, it's No, that all makes sense. You know, it's that kind of like I don't want to say it's going back, but because you're still like turning right, but it's the shift back onto the left foot's weight, so you
Yep.
can turn the toe.
Yeah,
That's
the weight shift goes back and forth. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gotta remember that. And then you did a rollback. There's like a rollback somewhere. Is it
Yeah.
at? This is a pop quiz. Is there a rollback after a punch? And I think it's like the first punch. Like after all the brush knees, um, and then you know kick, gather, punch. Is there a rollback there? Because I always like
Yeah, withdraw and push on.
withdraw. Because that's how your arms get to. Okay, I never, I never do that. I just punch and I just go for it. I just
No,
you know.
no, withdraw and push. That shows up at the end of both paragraphs.
Okay, because then your arms are like ready to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There
so
you
much
go.
nicer. It makes way more sense. And every time we go through it, I'm like, what? What is he doing? All right, I guess. Okay, bye.
I'm really not making that up.
Okay, yeah. So after that punch is that thing. Okay. Yep. I mean, I'm sure if you watched the recording, you would stop me like 36 times, but it's okay.
Well, you won't show up on the recording. See, that's the problem.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, there you go. Right.
So if you would like to flow, then I could criticize.
Yeah, I can try. I can try. We will try.
Where's the robot working? I don't know. Mark, where are you going? Oh boy. Where are you going to go? Well, okay. We're trying not to interrupt that.
I know. I want to do this. Thing.
So you
Yeah.
got to do white crane.
No.
Deflect, intercept, and punch. S curve back and down.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
How do we get your shingles? Oh. Okay.
Now I want to do high pass.
Single whip.
Single whip. Okay.
Yeah, you go back to another single whip.
Yeah, right.
And then high. Uh-huh.
Next.
Ward off left. No, ward off the left.
I just did that, so. Just. I did it again. I did the same thing, huh?
Then you shift forward, folding in, and kick with the right side of the right foot.
Right.
Okay.
I know there's like a sweep in there.
Yeah.
But kick.
Then step to the front corner and ward off right. Then Shift forward, fold in, and kick with left.
Rowan. Rowan. Do not go over your chair.
And that's where we are.
Yep.
For that kick, it's right there. Fold in. That's right. You open, kick with the side. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Yes. Good.
This one is so weird. Okay.
You did the opposite of what you did on the other leg.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, it's supposed to open and then kick.
Right.
Open. Okay. All right.
So, actually, there are two basic things that I would say that it would be good for you to really be aware of. First is you are very often shifting too far forward on the forward knee in a bow stance. You're going past your dynamic limit, and that's going to just put stress in your knee. You're just you're kicking yourself in the knee every time you do it.
Okay.
So that's really just, you probably just need to go through the form and stop in every bow stance and look at your knee.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the other thing? I think I'll remember what I want to talk about this.
Okay. The other one is to remember that your striking arm going forward doesn't go out as far as it can go, because that makes you very vulnerable.
Right.
So when you, it almost doesn't matter what. so take a punch. Your tendency is to punch out here.
Right.
And this is just doing that is pulling me off balance.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So remember that Tai Chi, unlike karate and Kung Fu, are not long distance strikes, they're close.
Right. The person's like right
when
here.
you're striking, your opponent is right there.
Right.
He's not over here.
Yeah.
And so that happens several times.
I had a feeling like as I was going through, I was like, I am either like this. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, or like I did not have a good sense of like, I don't know, concentration on
well, there's nothing like flowing for your teacher to really make you off.
Yeah.
So, but you said you had something else in reference to the.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever known what a good bow stance is.
That could be.
I just like, I play with it, and I think it's like some days it feels like, I think there's like a whole bunch of stuff, I could talk about it forever, of like, I used to do fencing, right, and that's like a very awkward stance of like, this leg should be this way, and like, your heels should be in a line, if not like a little bit like that. At least that's what I did. I don't know.
Because you're narrowing the width of your body, offering less of a target.
Right.
Tai Chi is not doing that.
I know. But like it's very like so this is obviously way, if I was going that way, but so if I'm going this way, like that's feels like way too much. This, obviously is not enough. And so I feel like it should be something like here between the two, but this always just feels. So then when we say like, okay, go back, it. I'm not literally in a line going back, right? Because my feet aren't in a line.
You should be able to go back and forth right through the center, yes.
So like that's where I get, that's where it kind of falls apart in my head of then my heels need to be in a line, or very narrow.
No, they don't need to be in a line.
Well,
You need to strengthen the muscles of your adductors so that you can do it.
I don't even know what those are, David.
The muscles on the inside of your leg.
So I think that, yeah, because this, I can go, I feel like I'm going in a line. But yes, the inside part of this thigh is like, it's like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It is it's not tight, it's not painful, but it is like,
yeah.
Hey, I'm not supposed to do any work.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yes.
And so I've always just kind of fallen into stance that like don't, right? Because I'm like, well, it's supposed to be like open and energetic, like.
So, the I was trying to stay on this camera so that I could really be. It's hard for me to get a view of my feet. Aha! Here we go. So the problem is that you have to figure out what is the appropriate angle of that rear foot for you. But the width of the stance, this width is really important, because if it's too narrow or too wide, you can't make the movements you need to do. So that width is that roughly the heels are at the same width as the sidelines of your 4 points.
Okay.
And so when you find what that is, and the angle of that rear leg, so that you can go back and forward in a straight line. And that's practice. Because I remember going through that, because the sort of natural thing is to shift the weight onto that rear foot.
Yes.
And then what happens is you shift the weight onto the front one, and your knee starts going off at an angle instead of being straight, and you shift too far forward.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Right. So it's really important that this knee only be above the ankle. Actually, it can be very slightly forward of that.
Right. Sorry. I always think that I'm only very slightly forward, and I'm like in front of my toes.
Yeah, you're way out here.
Yeah.
And that's hard on the knee.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, like, it's not, like, we'll finish a session, or I'll finish doing basically anything of it, and my knee's not, like, hurt, but my knee's, like we're all done.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, my knees, and because I always attributed it to, like, I guess I just have, like my knees are just tired from, like, because I sit all day.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's it.
No, it isn't. No, you've got to really get that bow stance into a good position.
And then, yep.
We're in time here. Andrew, I'm going to have to stop because we've got to go to a birthday party in West Hartford this afternoon.
All right. Well, that sounds like it'll be fun.
I hope so. This is Charlotte, who's been my student for over 25 years.
Oh, fun.
She's in the senior class. So
Gotcha.
This is her 94th birthday.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah.
Fun.
So we're going to go put in an appearance.
Excellent. Have fun.
We will. How are things there?
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I you know, every moment one to the next is always, but
yeah.
Overall, what are you gonna do?
Good. By the way, Adam said to say hello.
Oh, okay. Sure.
He said he hadn't seen you for a while.
Yeah. It's I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could talk about that forever, so I'll let you go.
No, I'm not. We probably shouldn't get into that.
Yeah, right. It just boils down to window visits, but it's just like, hi, it's the same thing as this for me. It's when someone's on the other side of a window, as it is. It's just a Zoom call through a window.
Right.
But yeah.
No, anyway, give our love to Kaya and the kids, and come and visit us sometime. We have a nice backyard.
I know. Yeah. No, we've been doing so much yard work. We're almost.
Oh yeah, you said you were. Yeah.
Right, but I will.
And you're still doing both jobs?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
You got to give up one of these days, Andrew.
One of these days. Soon. The whole the economy's crashing thing did not make that an easier decision.
No, it doesn't.
So, but yes, yeah.
Good thing you didn't go to work for that business across the bridge.
Oh yeah, really? What happened to them?
Oh, she died from COVID.
Wow.
And the business is gone.
That's crazy. They just closed up the whole shop?
Yep.
There's 20 people that worked there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's like that story about the dude's son and the horse and the wild horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, you never know.
That's right. Okay, well, I got lots of news, but I'll tell you some other time.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It sounds like you got to get in a car.
Pretty soon.
All right.
Take care, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Can you put your hair behind